There we go. I hit the right button. Let's get this show started. It's Friday, and you know what that means? That means we are pre recorded because, well, things happen. We had some technical difficulties on Tuesday, and we didn't get to hear from Mike, and I really wanted us to hear from Mike. And all we had was dead silence for pretty close to 20 minutes. So we brought back Ike today so that he can tell us all about his upcoming film, Pandemic.
Yes, sir. So I guess your plan is not to rerun that show. Is that it?
I don't think anybody will watch 20 minutes of silence and just listen to me pipe in from occasion to say something extremely dryly that only made sense with the other side of the conversation.
Well, thank you for having me, Dan. I appreciate it, brother. I think we're gonna have fun.
I think we're going to have a great time. So let's put a little synopsis on this film.
Yes, absolutely. So it is set in December of 2020, which we all remember 2020 and how much fun that year was. A young woman and her new husband and her mother are traveling into the rural deep south in the midst of the pandemic to check on an ailing uncle. He's bereaved, and there's enough level of concern there to inspire them to travel in the midst of this horrible time. And once they get there, once they arrive, they understand that in the cultural climate that was 2020, things are not quite the same as they remember. And as they go further into this bereaved household, they find that there are some ugly things that have taken over, such as perhaps intense drug abuse and even some adherence to some fairly extreme conspiracies. With Hannah, the main character, being a fairly vocal, progressively minded individual, finding herself in this scenario of such conflict is well, ultimately that's where the plot of the movie derives from, is
Yeah,
an exploration of what the family dynamic became during 2020. How about that?
that sounds yeah, that sounds like you summed up the video that I saw. So let me see
Absolutely.
here. Let me do this.
So what we're going to be seeing here, actually, yeah, there you go.
This here is the video is available on Vimeo. Is that correct?
We have it on Vimeo right now. That's correct.
Mm-hmm. And
YouTube gets a little sensitive about it.
well, when I watched it, I noticed that the language was definitely for adults in some cases.
The
So
language
viewer
is,
discretion is advised.
please, yes. No, go ahead, and we'll discuss it when you're, yeah, after you play it.
But you know what? I don't think that it's going to play the audio, which is what happened last time. So if you want, I can play it and we can talk about it while it's playing because I don't think the audio is going to be recorded like it did. It wasn't the last time we did, but we can always make the link available so that people can view this for themselves.
Yes, absolutely. And also, if you want to pay our website a visit, that's kindredsinners.com, just like it sounds. And the POC, or proof of concept, in this case, for our purposes, is hosted on kindredsinners.com as well.
Oh, okay. So people can go there and check it out.
Yes,
All
absolutely.
right. So this film was beautifully shot. When you see the scenes that come up on the screen, let me see here. I don't want that to distract us while we're having a conversation because I know it's not going to be recorded through the stream. But it's absolutely beautiful. What kind of camera did you use
I'm
for
happy
this
you
film?
asked. I have to give all credit in that department to my good friend Andrew Red of Crashbox Media. He shot this actually. It was a cool story. This is the first project that he was able to shoot on his new Velociraptor Red camera. I believe that camera dropped late last year, probably November. And he was excited about it. The proof of concept here, we are seeing it in HD, but we're not seeing it in 8K, which I believe is its full potential. So that's
Okay.
it was Andrew is a master at what he does. He and I discussed basically the mood and the look and the way that this was supposed to be presented, and he did it masterfully. It's one of the few projects I've ever worked on where I can honestly say that the end result mirrored what I saw in my head when I was writing.
Now, a lot of people get confused when they see things like this. They think that just because it seems to be low light, that it's actually shot in the dark. So, I that was one of the assumptions I made when I was younger and starting in filmmaking. Was just if we don't have enough light, then it looks like it's a low light situation. But you guys spent some time making sure that there was plenty of lighting because the details are captured.
Oh yes, no, it was lit by my good friend Scott Payne, who was with Siegeworks. He's one of the best in the business. Not only that, but it was then colored in post by one of the best to do it in Steve Franco. So,
Did he use Da Vinci for that?
I'm not sure what he used, to be honest with you. A magician never shares their secrets, so to speak. But
well, always surround yourself with people that know more than you. That's been my motto.
Now, I do know that our editor, Logan Gilpin, did absolutely use Da Vinci. So
yeah, I've known Logan for quite a while. He's quite an amazing individual.
He is.
And what was this location that you used here?
So this is down in Taylor, Texas, which is about 15 minutes, give or take, from Austin. I searched for the right gas station, right? I spent months driving around using my own resources, trying, and that's always fun, right? Whenever a guy with a man bun and earrings comes into your service station out in the middle of nowhere and is like, yeah, can I make a movie here? People are thrilled and so cooperative. No, but I have to give full credit there to the Texas Film Commission. Once we broadened our search and said, hey, maybe you know what? Maybe we don't shoot it in DFW necessarily. So we broadened the search statewide and find ourselves touring this little spot down there in Taylor, and the owners were the sweetest, nicest people you could ever hope to meet. It's called the Circleville Store, if you ever care to track it down. But it's a great spot, very, very hospitable. Looks nothing in person like we've presented it here. It's a very warm and welcoming environment. In reality, we had to work to make it this murky.
And obviously, the shop owners do not resemble in any way any of the characters presented as the locals.
Well, you know what? There's kind of a funny story there, right? Because you can't. Everyone associated with this project, it really, I think, maintains a good humor about it. You pretty much have to, right? I mean, like, I understand that 2020 was an intensely tumultuous time. It was difficult for everybody. And I understand that not everybody's going to reach the same conclusions. I'm not hostile to that. What I am hostile towards is hostility. And that, I think, is what you see prevalent in this clip, especially when you can hear it with full audio.
Oh, yes.
But no, with that being said, the owners of the store, they caught on. And I asked him before we ever started shooting, I was like, so do you want to, I have the script with me if you would like to read it. And I think that might be relevant. He's, oh, no, don't worry about it. I'm sure it's all good. Like he's okay. All right, here we go. So then we get everything signed and set up, and the day of production begins, and I bring in my my big Pray for Our Nation flag and our big I start testing Carl Tuckerson and some of his diatribe out on the TV. And, a few hours into it, the owner of the store is like, hey, wait a minute. we're not completely on the same page here, are we? And it's like, well, perhaps not. But what it did do, and the reason I tell this story is because in the big picture, I hope that this film facilitates conversations. I hope that this film sort of, in a way, makes it easier to talk about some of this, because it goes to some pretty deep, dark, violent, scary places. And I'm not hesitant to commit to that.
Yeah. But inspiring conversation, actual conversation where two people listen, I think, is key. And one of the things that was illustrated in the short clip that you had recorded was that both characters, the shopkeeper and the patron, were speaking to each other, and they were saying things that they did not believe, and they were hearing things that were not being said.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's
I
hard to
think
do,
a
actually.
great jumping off point as far as what this movie's actually about is the fact that you can join this scene, you can join this conversation. She knows as soon as she steps in the door of that place, she knows what's about to happen before it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa, the shopkeeper, as soon as he turns his attention from the TV and to this young lady with a mask on her face, which he's subsequently been taught to despise already anyway, he draws his conclusions.
Yeah.
And what you have is a dynamic that is rigged unfairly from the very beginning. These two people were never going to give each other a fair shake, and that's part of the point. Go ahead, please.
Oh, well, I was just going to say that watching him finger the shotgun there and her expectations of him doing something like that, this scene very, very closely averts the situation that both of them expects. With him watching a female liberal come in at that time of the day, with that type of attitude and raising her voice beyond what was necessary to speak through the mask, with language that was more acerbic than he was used to hearing from in his neighborhood. He was ready to stop any riot that was about to happen. And she, in turn, was ready to be assaulted by some hillbilly in the middle of nowhere. So thank goodness in that scene that it didn't rise to anybody's expectations.
No, exactly. You're exactly right. In that scene, it did not rise to anybody's expectations. But what we did establish is the temperature. What we did establish is our climate and our setting. And whenever Hannah, with the hair trigger that she has, you might say, encounters someone who is perhaps equally passionate and perhaps desperate, perhaps already a fugitive, and not willing to take any chances. And, what if this person that she encounters is perhaps a family friend? And what if now there is a full evisceration of what was happening to families in 2020? Whenever either, in my view, oftentimes the willingness or unwillingness to believe in conspiracy tended to be a deal breaker.
Yes.
and that is, yeah, I think I phrased that as diplomatically as humanly possible.
Well, I think you effectively illustrated the uh, lack of communication while still talking, if that makes
Oh
any
yes.
sense.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. These people are communicating fully in the scene that they have, but as we mentioned, the conclusions are already drawn. And one
Hmm.
thing that I do want to hone in on that is, um, informing this conversation, certainly in the world that I've created and in my worldview, um, one of the few literal references to real life. And I was very careful, very, very careful throughout the entire script not to use certain names,
Hmm.
not to spell things out literally. But if something that a character is saying happens to sound like something that was going on in reality, well, what a coincidence. Um,
Well, I think people have already caught on that the Q in pandemic stands for something, although it's not necessarily spelled out.
No, 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 and the fact that it's blood red is also of relevance. No, it's yeah, the Q influence, especially where pandemic is concerned. Once again, we don't outright say anything, even about the reference that's in the title. I still didn't want to give it that much attention. What I'm talking about is the result more so than the cause, if that makes sense. I want to
It's
talk about where these influences are taking people and families, as opposed to making indictments of my own.
I would say that this is more like Lord of the Flies, in that Lord of the Flies isn't about an island as much as it is about the relationship that people have when put in a specific drastic situation.
Now, the confines of this story may be restrained to a rural country house, but is the rural country house and the people that dwell within it, is that a metaphor for something a lot bigger? Yeah, I'd say there's a good possibility.
Yeah, and that's good storytelling right there.
Well, thank you. I
Uh,
appreciate that.
Tell us about who played Hannah.
So Jess Sandlin, she's become a very, very good friend throughout the making of this project. Very much a kindred sinner, as it were. She has, her stories are personal to herself and hers to tell. But what I can say is that she has a very close relationship with the script and the story. And when she first auditioned to play this role, she, I think, even included a note in her audition tape that said that she felt like this role was written for her. And
Hmm.
when she, even, and she did her audition with a mask on. And the way that she was able to emote even through a mask, I was just like, okay, well, she gets it. She gets it through and through. She understands exactly what it is we're doing here. Um, no, but before being cast in this project, she was a relative newcomer to acting, which is also super cool because I think she's got something. I think she's got something really special. I think she's got it, whatever it is. If we can
Hmm.
quantify it, she's got it, and we are extremely fortunate to have her on board as our Hannah.
She's got MSG. You don't know what it is. You know when it's there, you like it better.
That's it. That's it. That's it's a special sauce.
Tell us about Larry.
So Larry, actually, little bit of trivia here. You and I worked together on a project with Larry back in another lifetime, way back in
Yes.
2013. I've always clicked well with Larry. I've always had a good time working with him. And even though, like I said, it feels like a lifetime ago now at this point when we were doing The Sitter, which was an
Yes.
episode of Rainbow Falls. Maybe we can
Yes.
dive deeper into that in another conversation. But there's definitely plenty of history where Larry is concerned. He's a veteran of the industry. You see him pop up in a little bit of everything. And once again, he was the perfect guy to play our shopkeeper, because just very, very much kin to Jess. He understood from the get-go what it was that we were doing.
Yes, Larry is very, very talented. He
He
gets
is.
completely into the roles. Even gone so far as bringing on his own costumes if need be, and working with the younger filmmakers to help give them the knowledge that he's got with him. So, hats off to Larry Jack. He is just a remarkable person.
No, absolutely. He's one of those that I would use in. I'd work with him in everything I make. I feel like there's a spot for Larry Jack. So we've got that kind of vibe.
And we can't not talk about Brian Massey.
We can't. So Brian and I had not worked together until this project, and we had a blast. So talking about Carl Tuckerson will give me an opportunity to actually talk a little bit about how we did that.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, we actually shot that in a podcasting studio where I used to work on Why Wouldn't We? And little bit of trivia for those that care. The background that was used for Carl Tuckerson and the lower thirds, all of that, I put my degree in graphic design to work, and spend an entire afternoon figuring out how I can replicate the presentation of a Fox News show without actually ripping it off completely. So yeah, that was a fun way to spend an afternoon. And Brian, he stepped into that role as Carl Tuckerson and took it and ran with it. I used a fraction of what he gave us. I wrote the lines, I wrote the dialogue, but then he would just take it and run with it and expound on it in ways that, Carl Tuckerson's real life namesake might even do. So
Brian is the quintessential professional. He comes in with all the energy in the world, with his experience in doing voiceovers for anime, helps him become more and more animated as it goes. If you need him to go more, push it, he'll do it. If you need him to bring it in, he can. But he's definitely got what it takes to bring Carl Tuckerson to life. I mean, if you've got more for him in the show, there's definitely, I'd love to see that.
No, absolutely. This Carl Tuckerson character, I'll spoil this much. He tends to be sort of the chorus, if you will. He pops in. He pops in every once in a while to abbreviate certain scenes or perhaps accent other scenes, because his commentary is usually relevant to what is playing out in reality, right? I mean, even in the scene that we just saw, right? I mean, as the shopkeeper is going for his sawn off, he's hearing regurgitated over and over again how evil these people are and how they're coming to destroy everything, and how
they've got to defend themselves.
It's up to him to defend himself. And that's, he's got that over his shoulder all day long, and that's all he hears. So how can you expect him to behave any other way?
But you did a fine job with the television in the background. That looked wonderful. You caught that in real time when you were filming at the location. Is that correct?
It's correct. Yes, we never actually cut to the footage of Carl Tuckerson. I didn't want to take us out of the scene, right, and put
Hmm.
us in the newsroom or whatever, right? Like it needed very much to be from Hannah's perspective. So the
Yeah.
TV needed to be on actually at the location, and that's how we went about doing that.
And here you were Aiden just for the proof of concept only. You'll be bringing somebody else in to play Aiden. Is that
That's
correct?
correct. Yeah, there's a couple of people that well, a couple of different directions, honestly, that we can go with
Hmm.
Aiden for the feature. For this purpose here, rather than like, especially whenever you're working on a limited budget, right? You've got X amount of dollars. We want to put as many of those dollars on the screen as possible, right? So
Hmm.
rather than hiring someone, a quality professional actor that to come in and be on set for something that's not even ultimately a speaking role, I just figured I'd step in and do it myself, right? I
Yeah.
knew what I
Yeah.
wanted out of that specific spot. So yeah, but for the feature, when we do that, I may pop up somewhere else in the movie, but I will not be Aiden.
Main character.
Yeah, no, that's I made that mistake once before, as a matter of fact, in my early 20s, in my very very self-absorbed early stages as a filmmaker. I thought I could do everything like Billy Bob Thornton in Sling Blade, and cast myself as a lead role, and have regretted that one ever since. So never again.
Well, I think you did a great job with an accurate yarn. And oops, did I name drop that for people to find it somewhere on the interwebs? Sorry.
It's out there. Oh, it's out there. It certainly is.
Oh my goodness. So here's a couple of behind the scenes shots here. And I, did we talk about that camera being a red
We
camera?
did
We did. Hmm.
the Velociraptor Red, which you'll probably run across a couple of. Yeah, you'll probably run across a couple of stills of that. That's a good one of uh, me and Andrew and our hair and makeup assistant Chloe. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a good shot. Yeah, you can see like it's that's a good example even right there of the dynamic difference that Franco made whenever he colored it. Just like I said, it's the right atmosphere changes everything.
Yes, absolutely. And there's a good shot of the screen, which if you had a lesser camera, you would not be able to shoot that on site. You'd have to come back in and digitally put that in. So,
I would think so. I would think so. I was absolutely thrilled with the way this read. It yeah, and for the eagle-eyed viewers out there, you might notice that the Fox News logo has given way to Box News.
yes, yes. When back in the day, back in the Stone Age, when we were working together, I had worked with Bill Haas on a film called The Leak, and I created a same type of scene where somebody was broadcasting, and I had to cobble everything together. The guy was in front of a green screen. The camera that was up in the restaurant or wherever it was a still photograph. So I cobbled together the news logo, and it was a spinning logo. So it was spinning, and then it would pause on the face, and then spin again, sort of like an animated GIF going over and over and over again. And if we could have just shot the TV, it would have been so much easier than the way we did it in 1080p. So
No, yeah, we were fortunate. We were fortunate as far as that was concerned, because the TV is one of those things when you're writing the script, right? Especially if you're writing from with a producer's mind, and you're considering like what it's actually going to take to get these things
mhm.
on film. It Putting a news broadcast on a TV screen doesn't sound like a whole lot, right? But then whenever you
Yeah,
start really unpacking that and everything that it takes to not just do it, but do it convincingly, Yeah, it's just I was thrilled with everything about Carl Tuckerson. I
I
can't
I
wait for people to see more of him.
Yes, yes. I try not to put on a producer's hat when I do my writing. At least the first draft. I don't put on my producer's hat until the second or third draft and say, "Ooh, I can't afford to do this. Let's figure out a different way of doing the exact same thing." But
How do you
you kind of have
separate the two, though? Philosophically, I'm curious. How do you step out, especially when you have the experience of producing some of your own work? Like, how do you separate those?
you just you can't let anything stifle your creativity. I mean, if you see angels in the outfield, then you write down angels in the outfield, just the same way you would write car chase down and walk away from it and forget about it until it's time to go start producing it. And you see car chase. Wait a minute now. Hold on. We're talking about a foot chase through a mall. That's what we need. It's a foot chase
Yeah,
through the
that's
mall. That I can afford that.
okay. That makes sense. That makes
But
sense.
just like writing any first draft, you just the goal is to finish it and not reach perfection. And then you start refining that, and then you can start switching hats from creative hat to producer hat, and start looking at financing. What's more affordable, this or that, and going on that way. So, but I find for me myself is that I can get far more creative without that restraint. Otherwise, I'll have a ton of false starts and start wiping out a whole bunch of everything until I wind up with just two people sitting in a room having a conversation, because that is the most affordable thing a filmmaker can do.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I have put myself through countless simulations of that very thing, right?
Yeah.
I think that's how Saw started as a screenplay, was how exactly do you make two people in a conversation seem intense and interesting?
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah,
So
no, very cool.
so you've got some merchandise available on your website, which again, for those interested in finding out more information, it's kindredsinners.com. There's a lovely little tab that shows up there where you can purchase yourself a pandemic t-shirt and support this film as
That
they
is
move forward.
Thank you. Yes, that's true. 100% of t-shirt sales and proceeds go to the final cause, which is ultimately the budget of the film and getting it to where it needs to be. Yeah, so I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, we'd love to see
And
people running around out there in pandemic shirts.
and you're taking this to Los Angeles, is that correct?
Santa Monica, that is correct. Yes,
Oh, Santa Monica.
the American film market takes place basically the first week of November. And yes, I am absolutely planning to attend and see where this goes. I think we've got a couple of promising conversations to be had, and if everything goes according to plan, then the world will experience pandemic hopefully as soon as next year.
I think you've got a really, really good chance. But then again, I'm sitting here in Texas, and I'm not in Santa Monica buying feature films. But I wish you the best of luck, and I hope to see this some more casting coming on, which would mean that you guys found the budget you need to make this thing happen.
Absolutely, and I very much appreciate those well wishes. And one thing that I would say, in addition to, is that I realize that I've tackled some very sensitive subject matter here, and I have done so with care. At least I would think that I've done so with care, because it's not about attacking anyone. It's not about attacking those with differences. It is about pursuing some of the differences that we have to their logical conclusions
Hmm.
and seeing exactly what those things look like whenever they're explored to their nth degree. And yeah,
Okay.
I hope that serves to build even that much more curiosity about the story itself, because I think it's going to be a rewarding journey for anybody that catches it.
I think so too. Thanks, Ike, for being here. I'm glad we had a chance to do this, and I'm going to bring you back on at some other later date. We can talk about all kinds of other things that you've got going on, because you've got a lot.
That sounds awesome. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it very much, brother. I look forward to coming back on. You just
No problem. Let me do this real quick. I've got to pay the bills. This portion was brought to you by DMRHosting.com. The business plan boasts unlimited data storage, unlimited data transfer, antivirus and spam protection, along with 24/7 365 support via chat or phone, all for $4.95 a month. Get started today with a 30-day free trial at dmrhosting.com. That's dmrhosting.com. Thanks again, Ike, and we will catch up again some other time.
I look forward to it, Dan. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.